Hello, hello, hello there, everyone. So good to see you here today for today's episode of Coffee Time Career Chat. So, if you're joining for the first time, welcome. My name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive advisor, empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And that just means that I love working with people to up level them to where they really want to be in their careers and their business by helping them to build out and strengthen their executive presence and that of their teams, as well as making sure that they are leveraging their professional relationships in a way that is sustainable and purposeful, that will last them throughout the rest of their careers and business lifetime. So, welcome. We are moving right along here. This is the last in this series on the Wednesday series regarding advocacy. So we've been talking about advocacy and bravery and courage and what it means in order to, speak up, speak out in the workplace, on your with your business, whatever it might be. And so we've been talking about that from the perspective of folks who are doing that on behalf of their own jobs, or excuse me, their own selves. But today we're going to talk about it in terms of being an advocate for someone else. And here's the thing: being an advocate for someone else is often, if not more so, just as powerful and, and just as much an act of bravery and courage as it is when you're doing it for yourself. Here's a couple of reasons why. Is number one, no one's normally expecting it to happen. No one's expecting you to speak up on their behalf, right? And that includes the person who you're speaking up on behalf of, and the person to whom, or the entity to whom, you are speaking, in effect speaking against, because there's some conflict or some issue that goes there. So it is very much an act of bravery and courage from the perspective of you're probably reaching out and you're doing or saying something that seems a little scary, it seems a little uncomfortable, but it's definitely the right thing to do. Okay. And so, kudos, first of all, for even thinking about it and considering it. And for those of you who are still on the fence, because most of the time there's some situation where we all have to do that, I hope that this series has helped you to know that you can speak up for yourself. You can speak up for others, as we'll learn today, in a way that is effective, and a way that helps others to know and hopefully model for them, a way forward through difficult situations, in a way that everyone can learn and grow. Okay, so here's the thing. Um, when I say why is it important, or why is it something where it's just as important as if you speak for yourself, there's a couple of different things. First is because you're modeling leadership, and that may not be the intent when you're doing it, like especially if it's something that's very much in the moment and it requires you, to say, yeah, I believe that's not exactly accurate. Or if I recall, this is how, Patricia addressed that issue previously. Again, it's not about being confrontational, as we talked about last week. It is not about getting in somebody's face. It's merely about righting a perceived wrong, or righting a real wrong, in a way that helps people to understand that you're paying attention and that there's something a little off there, right? And you're doing that, and why that makes it a leadership moment is because you're leveraging and utilizing your influence, your level of influence, to help guide others in a way to understanding that, hey, there's another point of view that needs to be considered here, and I'm going to offer it up. And today I'm offering it up on behalf of someone else who perhaps doesn't have the ability to speak up just yet, or doesn't have the confidence to speak up for themselves. So I'm going to do it on their behalf. And that is absolutely a leadership moment. Okay. And I don't want anyone to take those moments for granted, because I know for a fact there have been opportunities and there have been times in the past when I was a part of, a lot of several times, probably in a group meeting of some sort. And let's say the obvious was not being mentioned or discussed. And I just could take it anymore. And I'm like, I just want to bring up the realities of X, Y, and Z. And it never fails that after the fact or in a private chat or something, someone will message me and say, "Thank you so much for bringing this up. I was thinking the same thing, but I just didn't feel comfortable saying it." Okay. So it doesn't mean that you're the only one out there. Most of the time, you're not. But the act of courage is speaking up when others are not. And then oftentimes learning that you weren't the only one after all. Okay. That there are other people who had the similar or same point of view and appreciated you speaking up, and you're modeling what that looks like for them to be able to have the courage and the bravery to do it themselves in the next time. Okay. Um, Here's another really true factor that when you quote practice what you preach, you really do increase the know, like, trust factor for yourself. And what does that mean? Well, it means it's a little bit of what we were talking about from the leader perspective, but you're also, people are getting to know you better, right? They may like or dislike, it doesn't matter. Most of the time, they may dislike what you said. It's not so much about you personally, but others are also building trust in you and knowing that here's someone who is willing and able to stand up for what they believe in, to vocalize it, to acknowledge when a wrong has occurred or when something's missing and it needed to be added. And they begin to trust you in that perspective, not just in that way as a leader, but also as a colleague, as a volunteer, whatever the role is. Okay. You're building trust as you engage in that level of advocacy for others. And it will encourage people to either continue to seek you out or to send others to seek you out, so that you then, as a result, end up, becoming a, thought leader, someone who's considered to, to be able to provide wise counsel, those types of things that get associated with people who are willing to speak up, when the moment calls for it. Okay. So that is yet another reason why it's really important to speak up for others, because having that level of trust, it's not just that, oh, I'm going to speak up so that I can have other people build, trust in me, but it's about building trust in an environment to know that, hey, we have someone who's got our back and are willing to speak up. And as a result of that, I also may decide that I'm willing to speak up. I'm willing to stand up. I'm willing to address a missing piece of information or whatever it might be. Okay. So it's not so much about building yourself up as it is that you are building up others around you and creating a safe space for them. And they know and trust that if you're there and in the room with them, that you will likely acknowledge that effort as well. Okay. Now, the next piece here is, building confidence. It's so important because this is something that many people take for granted, but they don't know how to do it or they don't know how to acknowledge it, especially when it comes to, excuse me, especially when it comes to speaking up and speaking out on issues in the workplace. Okay. And this is where that practicing comes into play. And when you share little moments, they don't have to be big, gigantic moments. It could be as simple as telling someone, hey, I recall that actually was brought up by Sue last week in the meeting, and we decided we were going to do XYZ. Okay, that simple act of speaking up on someone's behalf and bringing them back into a conversation or acknowledging the work that they've done previously helps to build confidence in a couple of ways. First, it helps to build the confidence of the person for whom you're speaking up on, for them to know that, gosh, you know what, confidence and a level of empowerment, really, to know that someone's paying attention, right? And that, hey, this is something I can learn to do myself, as well as for others in the room who may be, caught off guard by the fact that someone actually brought up something and said something and that maybe they had been wishing they could do. This will help to build the confidence of others in the room, others in the space, so that they too can do it, not just in that space, but in other spaces as well. So your level of influence is tremendous in these moments. And it's incredibly important to, you may not recognize it in that moment, but afterwards, so that you can reflect on it and how that you can acknowledge it for when you have off moments yourself, because we all have them. We could be cruising right along, we got no problem, and then we hit a road bump of our own where we're like, I don't know, I really probably need to say something, but I really don't feel like doing that, or I feel like someone else should. But then you can have that little, reservoir of memory where you can go back and dip into it and say, remember you spoke up for so and so over here. So if you could do that for them, you can do that for yourself, right? So it comes full circle. When you are speaking up and being an advocate for others, guess what? It circles back around in two ways. Number one, it can circle back around to help rebuild and support your own confidence, your own empowerment for future moments. But it also can very much help others to know that, hey, they spoke up for me. I'm willing to speak up for them later, right? A little bit of quid pro quo. It's not what you went out for to do. So I'm not suggesting that you be an advocate for others for manipulative purposes. That is not what I'm advocating for. It is actually something I'd speak out against, because it actually does the opposite of building trust, because once the manipulation is identified, then you actually lose trust. So that's not the rationale for it. But just know that when you do speak up for people, when you do speak up in certain situations, that one of the natural things that may flow from it is that someone's willing to speak up on your behalf, whether you're in the room or not. Okay. So there's lots of great opportunities that we all have day in and day out, whether it's as simple as correcting a fact or a statement in a meeting, or something where it's going to require some more advocacy, stronger words, stronger input when it comes to, someone's getting a promotion or not, someone getting fired or not, someone being recommended for a leadership role or experience or not. Okay. There are so many opportunities for us to engage in advocacy for others, and that I encourage you to think about that, to be more aware of those opportunities, and to be, I won't say be selective, but be very conscientious of them, because those are the things that will feed back. And you want to make sure that you are doing it in a way that rings true and it's aligned with you and your beliefs and the work that you're doing, such that it will come back in that same way. Okay. I hope that has been insightful and helpful to you today. I look forward to following up with you. We're going to start a new little series next week, and I can't wait to follow up and do some more conversation, have some more conversation about this. If you have any thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comments or DM me. And or if you would like to schedule some consult time, just hit me up. You can go to the website to do that, and or any of the social media platforms, and we can get you on the calendar. Okay. Thanks so much. I hope you have a fantastic day and rest of the week. Bye bye.